Betsy and Thomas here for the American Intelligence Media, and today we are decoding a few Trump tweets that have come to our attention of July 7th, 2019. So while we're talking about propaganda, it looks like the president is giving us a shout out on some corporate media propaganda, Thomas.
And basically doing exactly what we did yesterday without knowing what he was going to do, which is show you how to know the difference between disinformation, misinformation, omissions, and complete ignoring the truth, as well as what is a counterintelligence action and a counterintelligence action. Because if you don't know that, you don't have the discernment to know when the perception management of the people in the media are actually controlling the way you think.
Well, what I have found out from the last audio that we did revealing the propaganda that we found on the Corbett report was that a lot of people get invested in these characters out here in YouTube land, and they spend a lot of time listening to them. So when you bring to their attention the obvious, that they're history revisionists or shills or just straight up propagandists, they just totally freak out and just go ballistic. But I can understand it because waking up from brainwashing is a hard thing to do. Let's get started with the tweets. Impossible to believe that Fox News has hired Donna Brazile, the person fired by CNN after they tried to hide the bad facts and failed, for giving crooked Hillary Clinton the questions to a debate something unimaginable. Now she's all over Fox, including Shep Smith, by far their lowest rated show. Watch the Fox News weekend daytime anchors, who are terrible, go after her big time. That's what they want, but it sure is not what the audience wants.
Trump is now, because of the campaign, in a complete campaign war with his enemy, which is the mainstream media, which represents the Democrats, including Fox News. Fox News might be one-third Republican-oriented, but they do not tell you the truth. They do not go far enough. They do not reveal the exculpatory evidence that would show that all the stuff they're saying about Trump is complete insanity. If they would simply do what we're doing, you would know that the score, except for recently, one tiny thing so far, I've challenged everyone to please show me a mistake that he's made. He made one mistake the other day. He was reading from a script that, what's his name? His speechwriter wrote, and he used the word airport in relationship to our founding fathers. And it was a mistake, yes. Show me another one, okay? Show me another mistake, because there aren't any. Show me any lies. There aren't any. Now, it has become common parlance that attacking Trump is so normal that nothing is out of the ordinary. Yeah. Anything is accepted. You can call him anything you want. But if he responds and defends himself, they then use that against him too, saying that that's wrong also. So Donna Brazile, let's talk about her for a second. She stepped up after Debbie Wasserman Schultz was proven to be guilty for basically rigging the entire primary, cheating against all the rules for the Federal Elections Commission, taking $84 million out of Maine, which was donated to candidates in Maine, and putting it directly into the Hillary Victory Fund. Money laundering beyond anything anybody's ever seen in the Democratic National Committee with Debbie Wasserman Schultz. But then it continued with Donna Brazile, because remember, Donna Brazile wrote her book, which was an alibi for her nonsense, stating that she believed that the Russians had killed Seth Rich and that she had to put her close the blinds and the windows because she was certain that Russian snipers were going to kill her, when she knew for a fact that there was no Russian hacking of the DNC. She knew that for a fact. She had access to those things, and so she has to be one of the biggest liars in the Democrat Party right now. So what did they do? As soon as you are a Karl Rove and you've been convicted, or an Oliver North, you've been convicted, they make you a news commentator. Isn't that lovely? And they try to beat up on her, but remember, they can't really, because she is, of course, we'll call them a racist. She has used the race card so many times it's ridiculous. And what she did as the head of the Democratic National Committee was completely pathetic. Every word she ever said was a lie. Everything she ever said was an attack. And nothing out of her mouth was ever true. So why in the world would she be on the news, especially Fox News? It doesn't matter that she's an easy target for the very weak-minded commentators. And they are only commentators. They are not investigative journalists. They are not journalists. They are not writers. These people on the news are nothing more than commentators, and they're doing nothing more than giving their pathetic little opinion.
You said that 1/3 of it is Republican, but I ask you to step out of that paradigm. What you're looking at corporate media is just that. These are globalists, and this is their realm of influence. They want to influence you. It's straight up globalist propaganda. And let me give you an example. For many of us, you spent many years watching Bill O'Reilly at 8 o'clock because you're an adult. It's your end of your day. You go sit down. You think Fox is supposed to be telling you the truth. You listen to Bill O'Reilly. And we fell asleep through it because all he does is keep you in a spin zone. Now, what a spin zone is they're going to tell you things that are occurring and that you see out there that are occurring, but it makes you feel like you're moving through the news, when in fact they just keep you in a spin zone. The top two for me on Fox News right now is this Tucker Carlson and Hannity. And I know people are going to go ballistic, but folks, they never get you out of the spin zone. For example, we already know that Alison Saunders, the chief prosecutor for the Brits, came over here. Now imagine if Bill Barr had done this over to England. Alison Saunders came over here and had dinner with Nellie and Bruce Orr 4 days before the Trump towers were wiretapped. How come Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity aren't reporting this? This is espionage. Here's another one. What about the relationship of our vendor Sambai and Robert Mueller that extends all the way back to 9/11 and she's still involved in the overthrow of Trump with all of this Russia collusion stuff? Why isn't it that these people are reporting this? No, they're just going to stay in their little spin zone and you think you're getting the news when you're getting nothing but propaganda.
You're so right, Betsy. Instead of reporting that Robert Hannigan was the person who did the physical wiretapping,
yes,
and that it was with the very people you mentioned, the top British people were part of attacking Trump during the election, and then President-elect Trump, and then President Trump. It has not stopped. And recently, as we saw, the British ambassador to America has made himself a fool because his cables back to Britain criticizing Trump, and by the way, every bit of his criticism has proven to be wrong, and so all he did was really show us who he is. But his name is, he calls himself Sir Kim Darragh, but his real name is Sir Nigel. So Sir Nigel Kim, whatever you want to call yourself, is such a soy boy, such a beta boy, that look at his history. We just did an expose on him given to us by the staff writers of Americans for Innovation, and basically showing him to be nothing more than a tool of Sir Lord Malloch Brown and the Privy Council. So once again, it is simply covering up for the Brits. People in Fox actually own segments of the British news agency, of certain British news agencies. They're already showing who they are. And here in America, we have 6 companies that rule 90% of everything you see in media, from news to what you see on television, to sports, to entertainment, to movie studios, and the propaganda coming out of Hollywood, which I'm laughing at, that China, who's buying up all of Hollywood, is now boycotting Hollywood stars. In other words, they're going to kill the industry. It's so beautiful because it should be killed, because it's an exaggeration of people who really think they're all that, and they're not. Not one single person who ever received an Oscar thanked God.
Well, I am sorry that we're having to red pill people and you're so upset about it. But we're used to it and we really don't care, because we're the ones that told you that after a while that Q thing just became a huge psyop and people were very upset and they unsubscribe. I don't care. Unsubscribe. We need to stay under 100,000 so we don't gain any more attention than we already are. A few words on Q before we move on?
We didn't. Okay, Q posted recently a couple posts, and before that not for a month, and before that just a few, and then before that not for a while. They've been knocked off and changed 4 or 5 times. The original Q was based upon the content of our newscasts. This is what we were told by the very people who founded Q. We know those people. We've met those people. We've worked with those people. We've now watched them go into I don't know, a real crazy scenario where the real people involved are being attacked because people think that there's money there. And then the people who are doing commentary on it, they sell their hats and their cups and their T-shirts, and they're just doing dandy, but they have no more Q content. Well, Q content, if you look closely, was nothing more, it depends on which of the iterations you're looking at. But to begin with, it was taken from us. We know that. We know when it was taken down. We were actually observing. We were making comment on it. And we were actually nailing what it was. So we aren't against Q. Q was founded for a very good reason. And certain iterations of Q were simply repeating what we were doing and putting literally the same URLs up for your consideration. So Q has been a complete mishmash. It's mincemeat. It is just, it's a conglomeration of complete nonsense from everything from the deep state to really people who were trying to do the best.
Well, another shill we found out early on was Lionel Nation. You were on Lionel. Oh, I love Lionel. He's so entertaining, and that's just the point. He's entertainment. And Douglas Gabriel did 2 sessions with him on Wetworks that were huge successes on Lionel's channel. The last I saw, they were each close to 500,000. But when the 3rd video came, where the 2 of you were discussing something, it was abruptly ended because you started talking about senior executive service. So then that's when we started looking at Lionel closer and realizing that he too had a paymaster. Well, I don't know if you realize this, but those 2 blockbuster videos have now been taken down off his site. He too was put into the internet early on to get your attention, get your trust, but never lead you anywhere. But he is fun.
There are a few people who pretty much believe the same truths we believe. The problem is that when you're going along with them and you go much further into details that they don't want to go into and they can't go into it, and for some reason they actually reject reality, what are you going to do? So we don't align ourselves hardly anymore with anyone. We did at the beginning, but now we've learned our lesson. And even the people who gave us the greatest praise sometimes turn on us and then try to dox us. So that's the reason that we don't do interviews much at all, only with a few people. And mind you, we get offers to do interviews with everybody you can imagine. Now, going back, we are controlled, our media, 90% of it, over 90%, by 6 corporations. You've heard this. This is not a mythology. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's real simple. Comcast owns NBC, okay? CBS, of course, owns CBS. Time Warner owns CNN. Viacom owns BET, CMT, and a lot of other things. Disney owns ABC, of course, and ESPN. But when it comes down to Fox News, it's owned by News Corp, okay? Now, Disney's trying to buy News Corp. We told you that the second that happened, what did they do? They brought in idiots like Donna Brazil. They brought in horrible, horrible demon rats. They then stopped going as far as they were going. They had to cut back because they were afraid that they'd lose their advertisement. And Disney started to basically threaten them. And you saw a transformation at Fox that Trump is now in a war against them. Why? Because they're becoming Disney. Fox is no longer going to be the place where you can actually hear some truth. Because all the other ones read directly from the Associated Press supposed generated material, which is actually filtered through a group called ISIS Management, or a company called Avid. And so most of the news is simply reading what is on the prompter. There is no investigative journalism. And this is what I'm going to go to next. The reason that Trump got so mad at the New York Times article, basically saying that the one particular place near El Paso is a children's concentration camp, because it was all lies. Go and read the article. Go look at it. No one on the ground. Not one single picture of anyone there. Not one journalist there. Not one person that they questioned. Not one direct quote. The only quotes they have in that article are second or third hand. They quote, the only person they quote, technically, who was in that facility, was an adult who was never in the facility, whose children were in the facility. That's it. And so when AOC, Alexandria Ocasio, with the emphasis on crazy, Cortez said that she went there. She did not go inside. She spoke with the woman through the fence, and the woman told her she was drinking from a toilet. Now, here is what happens, because AOC's IQ has to be under 70. If she was not in special education when she was in school, I would be shocked. And I'm not making this up by just listening to her. First off, had she ever been in any detention facility? And I speak from direct experience, having ran the largest detention facility in this state. Sometimes we'd have 500 children there. Sometimes we'd have 1,000. Sometimes we'd have much more. We'd have to put them on the gym floor, on mats or sleeping bags, right next to each other, inches away. This happens in every detention facility for children because there are influxes into those. Now let's look at that facility in El Paso. Created by Barack Obama. Not a single speck of it except the tents were put up during Trump's time. It's supposed to hold 100 adults. It recently had almost 800 children in it because it's the only place that they were processing children for unaccompanied minors during the Obama time. Obama built that concentration camp. Obama built those pens. Obama built those rooms. Obama built what Ocasio is saying is drinking out of a toilet. If you've ever gone in a detention facility or a prison, the toilet is connected to the sink. It's all stainless steel. AOC.
It's just one unit. I mean, why are we spending so much time on this? Now, I have that important tweet inside the description box that really set this tweet storm off, and that is about this. He calls them big media con job. That's what they are. They outright lie.
Oh, yeah. They didn't send anybody there. They have the entire article. But let's remember, New York Times, let's remember Daniel Richman and James Comey. Institutionalized leaking against our own national security, top secret security leaking, institutionalized. If you ever read the New York Times and believe it, you're an idiot. Let's remember who it was that bought New York Times with their influx of cash. Wasn't that Carlos
Slim? And
a Mexican
others.
Who is Bill Clinton's best buddy along with Frank Giustra. And if you don't understand what that means, look up the Clinton Giustra Sustainability Growth Fund, and you will see one of the most corrupt things ever in calling itself a charity or a foundation. So it is a con job. All 6 of these groups are literally ran by a handful of people who all have the same exact agenda.
Well, let's continue on with the last 3 tweets that I grabbed on this topic. Watching Fox News weekend anchors is worse than watching low ratings fake news CNN or Lion Brian Williams. Remember when he totally fabricated a war story trying to make himself into a hero and got fired? A very dishonest journalist and a crew of degenerates.
Yeah, he got fired. He should have been kicked out of the business altogether. And the other one they brought back from CBS, what was his, Dan Rather, right? Again,
another big fat liar.
Big friggin' fat liar. Oh, come back, and now we're supposed to respect them. Liar, liar, liar. These anchors lie, and then they become commentators, and then they first they get fired, like Bill O'Reilly, and then they do their thing, and then they come back, and then we're supposed to forget that. We're supposed to forget Karl Rove is a criminal. We're supposed to forget Oliver North is a criminal. Donna Brazile is a criminal. We're supposed to forget that these commentators supposedly telling you the truth.
We're supposed to not realize that Clapper and Brennan had no business being on CNN talking about these things and putting our national security at risk.
Every word out of their mouth that they stated anything to do with the intelligence community or Donald Trump should have put them in jail for the rest of their life according to their security contracts that they signed. I signed the same ones.
Okay, so everybody knows CNN is nothing but a front for the CIA, and Fox News, what are you saying? It's a front for the Mexicans and for the globalists?
Well,
the Brits?
For a while it was the alternative, and notice that it got, and still does, get more attention than any of the other stations. It gets more viewers, right? And when Murdoch was really in control of it, which he no longer is because he's selling out to Disney, of course, we're standing against that because this is the worst type of monopoly. 6 companies on 90% of the media. Hello? It couldn't be more antitrust, more monopolistic, more racketeering. It could not be more against the Decency in Broadcasting Act and Section 230, which says that you cannot propagate lies when you know they're lies. All these stations, every one of them, needs to be closed down, including Fox. Now, the only thing you can get from media is either Trump tweets, because that's where the real media is, because the entire media bases what they have on criticizing Trump, and so they use his tweets. So everything Trump, and so when he says, I am the only topic you have, and if they're not criticizing him, they have nothing to say because they're not going to tell the truth about him. We tell the truth about him. Do you hear these truths anyplace else? No. Why? Because it's unpopular. We don't need any advertising dollars. We don't need any money. The people who need the money and people to support them have to please the globalists. They have to please this con group, literally this communications con group of 6 different corporations, which are basically act with impunity, cannot be prosecuted even when they lie. And right now, they've joined with the social media to basically be the Democratic Party attacking Trump. They are the opposition party. The entire mainstream media now is the anti-Trump opposition party.
He continues on. Ask the Times what they paid for the Boston Globe and what they sold it for. Lost $1.5 billion, that's with a B, dollars. Or their old headquarters building disaster, or their unfunded liability. Fox News is changing fast, but they forgot the people who got them there.
That's what he means, him. He got them there. And us who watch. They forget Trump's numbers right now. First off, it's a lie. We have Rasmussen just some weeks ago at 53%. Now they say Trump is at 44%. Add 10 to 15 points to that. That's the truth.
Well, those are propaganda polls. Don't pay any attention to them. What they do is they give you all this propaganda of numbers so that you get dispirited and you're not there supporting your candidate. And then a day before the election, they actually give you a real poll so that they can always go back historically and said, oh, we reported it accurately. Oh, yeah, up to the last hour you did.
These polls are like a roller coaster ride. And why? Because they're paid for by these 6 corporations. Who owns the 6 corporations? That's right, the same people who own the military-industrial complex and the social media group, as well as the central banks. They got in early. They're all disguised under different names, asset management companies. But the point is, it's all the same people. So, propaganda. Mainstream media is nothing more than propaganda. Who's the propaganda for? The banksters. Why? Because the banks provide money to both sides of war.
And they've been doing this for a long time. It was the banksters who originally set up Reuters with the Rothschilds to do that.
Carlos Slim is a silver. He mines silver in Mexico. And he basically, along with the U.S. Federal Reserve, which is neither U.S. federal nor do they have a reserve, controls our economy by silver manipulation, and that would be Carlos Slim. He's the one who bought into the New York Times. He also bought into the Sustainability Fund with Clinton and Juster, giving $100 million as his first donation to the group that was the payoff for Uranium One. In other words, Carlos Slim is in on Uranium One. Now remember, all the bigwigs buy, Jeff Bezos buys Washington Post to be his what? Propaganda arm. I mean, that's what yellow journalism is about.
That's why they call it Bezos blog, because what we're all trying to do is to gain influence. They too need to have influence over you, the voter. And so this is their line of communication to you. So the best thing to do is to turn off your television when it comes news time. Go into your YouTubes and all your BitChutes and look at your favorite creators that you know have been telling you truths. Go out there and get it. And make sure your friends also turn off Fox News. Fox News has to go. If we can take Fox News down, the others are just going to fall.
Well, the others are falling. Those are all fake numbers they give. You have to understand that the numbers are being generated by who? The very people that the numbers are for. And so it's just been a game. They're not true. Where do you think? Show me on your computer. You show me your TV or your iPad that's watching TV, and you show me how they count you. There's no such thing. Those numbers are just like the myth that social media, Facebook, Google, YouTube, makes money from ads. No, they don't.
Well, there used to be something called the Nielsen ratings, and if you were a family, you might have a box on your television, and they could see what you're watching. But right now, we know that they can watch both ways. They can watch you, and you can watch them through your television sets.
Absolutely, and they control everything. Those numbers are all fake. Just like you saw, every single poll during the 2016 election was fake. Every single one. And then even if you look at what they say or the parameters of the poll, you'll see that it was slanted to begin with. So do not believe that. Go out and vote. And we are working hard to make sure that the election is not as rigged as it has been by drawing attention to Optech and the machines and who owns them and demanding paper ballots. And we still have a group of people working on the writ of mandamus for demanding that there be paper ballots backing it up, plus lawsuits in the Supreme Court, so on and so forth. So we are part of a lot of action making sure that this election will be better. But folks, it could be even worse, because right now they don't even care to hide the fact that George Soros and the Atlantic Council has come over with an artificial intelligence to control everything on Facebook, Google, YouTube, Twitter, and all the rest. So the social media summit on the 11th, I hope Trump, because right now there's already a system where you can file if you've been shadow banned, knocked off, or you're a conservative who's been attacked on social media, so on and so forth. I hope he takes all of those and starts a class action suit and or simply uses the tool that we have given him, which is an agreement to have control of the original source code that all of it is based upon. All scalability on the internet is based upon one invention, basically, or set of inventions owned by Leader Technologies, and we have a deal before the president. We hope that he's actually going to use that deal on the 11th, and whoever does show up, because remember, at this point, every stinking social media has already come before Congress with a representative and lied. Sundar Pichai recently, for the second time, said, this is unbelievable. Facebook does not surveil anyone, and they do not sell your data to anyone.
Wait. We already know it's legal to lie in Congress. So why are you even watching these dog and pony shows?
Precisely. And what has Congress ever done from one of their investigations?
Congress doesn't do anything because they're all blackmailed. I mean, what do you think Jeff Epstein's doing all these years? He's gathering blackmail information on all these people.
Well, with Epstein, it's very hard to tell what's happening. I think this is one of those demon rat plans that was supposed to go after Trump, and unfortunately ends up taking down many other people on the sidelines. I think that's what's happening, and it could be that Epstein does go down. Could be that Dershowitz goes down. Could be that a few people go down.
Sorry, but I don't trust anything Cernovich brings to the surface.
No.
Sorry, I don't need to go in there and diss him, but I have a whole lot of reasons to say that he's someone I don't listen to. So I wonder exactly what is the false flag being run on us here with this stuff.
Well, as we talked about in a broadcast recently, the Southern District of New York is going after Trump for Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen and anything they can get, any association whatsoever. So there was false charges brought against Donald Trump that were dropped against he and Epstein. That will come up. There's a lot going on, but the reality is anything that Cernovich, I was just saying the other day, where's Cernovich been? Oh, they haven't needed to use him recently.
Yeah, they only drag him out when they need him to push out some of their propaganda to get stuff rolling.
It's just like John Sullivan and Sarah Carter. They have nothing to report. Nothing. Zero until they have the absolute insider 100% vetted, 150% true report that Fox completely swallows hook, line, and sinker.
You know, they're shills to the Queen. They're protecting the Privy Council, Senior Executive Service, and the Queen's operation over here to overthrow Trump.
Now, it may sound like we sit here and do nothing but criticize other people saying they're all wrong. No, that isn't what we're saying. There's percents of a lot of these that are correct. You determine the percent. We'd give you our percent. It may not agree with your percent. But they're not 100% correct. Now, you're going to say, it's okay, you can't find 100% correct. And I like these people. I've always trusted them. Fine. Just remember they're giving you a limited hangout, a small perspective. They're not giving you what is going to liberate you. And ask the question when they're done, do you have hope? Did they tell you a way out? Did they give you an actionable, applicable thing to do? Did they help the situation? Did they give you insight and truth? And did they provide you with the indictable evidence to support that truth? And if they didn't, why are you listening to them? So therefore, you're not going to listen to so much of the news because there's no facts. There's no substantiation. There are always anonymous sources. Always. I mean, this New York Times article had nothing but second and third hand sources. And they want to say, point blank, it's deplorable there. They don't know what they're talking about. They didn't do any work. They simply repeated what they needed to get their story across, which was simply to bash Trump. And now, as they bash Trump, sorry, collateral damage, sorry, you have to admit there's a crisis on the border and $4 billion has now been sent there. After Pelosi said she wouldn't give $1 to anything to the border or anything whatsoever, just open the border, let people come across. The only problem is Trump. Wrong. Now they've given billions of dollars to help these places, which just helps Trump, and that decreases what he has to spend, which he had already laid out he was going to spend to enlarge those places. That place is a child concentration camp there in El Paso. Barack Obama created it and never intended to have more than 100 people there. So if you want to say Trump is the source of it, you're wrong. You need to look closely. Most everything they criticize Trump for, Obama did before him. And unfortunately, the unaccompanied minors was just like DACA. It was just like all the other evil immigration regulation changes that Obama made that actually are causing more children to die than children being brought into America and receiving asylum. It is complete insanity. It is the opposite of what people are saying. So there is a war, Trump against the mainstream media, and I say he's winning.